Real Country 1430 AM and 1073 FM WRDN. This is the WRDN Morning Farm Report. I'm Brian Winnikins. Joining us this morning, Jeff Ditzenberger. He's founder of TUGS, Talking, Understanding, Growing, Supporting. It's a support group and Facebook page to help farmers and those just maybe needing a place to talk as well. And Jeff's going to be doing a presentation at this year's Wisconsin Corn-Soybean Expo. His presentation will be on February 3rd at the Kalahari Center. And thank you to our newsmaker sponsors, including Alcivia Co-op, Compure Financial, Osteoplastics, Annabis Silo, the Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, and Synergy Cooperative. And Jeff, thanks for joining us. Now, you've been presenting at Corn-Soy for a few years, but for this year, it seems like you're going to be doing a little bit more expanding. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me on, and hello to everybody out there that's listening. We're actually doing something a little bit different with me this year. I'm actually part of a panel that's going to be one of the main sessions, and basically the ideology behind it is to one, have some real life experience that people can hear about. A little bit about my background. I'm an agriculturist. I farmed for many years up until this last year when I took a position as a big iron auctioneer, district manager, which deals obviously with a lot of farmers as well. And then I had my own suicide attempt back in the early 90s that I never told anybody about until around 2014, 2015 when I founded TUGS. Basically because I was kind of tired of not people thinking that I had just tried to die by suicide and ended up getting charged with a felony, but I was less embarrassed to be charged with the felony than I was to admit that I had actually tried to end my life. And now I've kind of made it one of my life's missions to get rid of the stigmas surrounding mental health, get rid of the stigmas surrounding suicide, get rid of the stigmas around men can't talk, men can't have feelings. And it's not just about farmers in my organization. I mean, I basically founded it with the ideology of having having men be able to open up about their feelings, having farmers be able to talk more about their feelings, veterans being able to do so, and having a common ground to talk with someone who understands, one, because we're, the same gender basically, but has also been through it. But we still, there's a lot of gals that reach out to us. I'm actually a certified mental health coach and a certified peer specialist, and which I have, kids that I talk to, high school kids, the gals, all gamuts and all walks of life on that side of it. And that's one of the things that we want to bring to that stage during Wisconsin Corn-Soy is that just like our tagline says, it's okay to not be okay. Let's talk about our feelings. Let's talk about what's bothering us. Let's quit burying people because they're making a permanent, they're making a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
And Jeff, I've talked with other farmers and I've talked with other folks that have experienced mental health issues or experienced tough times. A lot of times it's been farmers with markets or like the COVID pandemic and all. Mm-hmm. But I was really I learned something, and that was from one of my dairy farmer friends. He said, sometimes we just want somebody just to listen. Don't try to solve it, because Brian, and he said, Brian, I understand you want to try and help and solve it and say, I'll keep you in my thoughts and prayers. He goes, that doesn't mean that's in some respects almost the worst thing to say, other than just listen.
So there's a buzz term out there that's called toxic positivity, and it's really come to the forefront now, where it's like, human nature is to fix things, especially when someone doesn't feel good. Your 3-year-old comes to you and they're crying, and you hug them and you kiss their owie and stuff like that. And I tell people all the time, if somebody, back during when I was trying to get someone to talk to me about what was going on with my mental health, back when I had my suicide attempt, if one person would have just said, hey, you want to sit down and talk and I'll just listen, that would have, I don't know that I'd be in the position that I'm in now. So I mean, there's maybe some good to that side of it, but we tell people when they're upset, we're like, oh, somebody's got it worse than you do, or oh, come on, Brian, it'll be better tomorrow. We can't guarantee that person that it'll be better tomorrow. And the thing I hate the most is when someone's like, well, other people got it worse than you do. You're right. There are probably other people that have it worse than I do. But right now, I'm the one who's feeling it. I have the full emotion. I'm the one that's taking on all of this responsibility. And that's one of the other things about TUGS. Our whole, there's that whole, like with one of my main TUGS, which is one of the guys that I actually founded this with back when we first did this, who was my vice president. The day that I called him and I was complaining about my leftovers that were in my lunch, and he's like, what? I go, yeah, I'm having a bad day because I've got leftovers. And he's like, you like leftovers? I go, not 2 days in a row I don't like leftovers. And he says to me, he goes, so who packs your lunch? And I'm like, well, my wife does. And he's like, well, then pack your own lunch. And I was like, that's not what I wanted to hear, which is what I needed to hear, but it wasn't what I wanted to hear. Now, when the guy that I farmed with got brain cancer the first time around, and I called him and I was crying my eyes out and I couldn't get the words out. And all I heard on the other end of the line is, I'm here to listen. I'm here to listen. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to listen. And that made that difference, so you're exactly right. There's a lot of people that don't want to be told how to fix it or anything. They just want someone, to listen. And one of the other things, I heard you say something about mental health challenges or mental illness and that kind of stuff. We're trying to change that tide as well to mental wellness. Why do we talk about losing weight as a wellness? Why do we talk about, beating cancer as a wellness, but yet we still talk about mental health as an illness? Why can't we talk about mental health from a perspective of mental wellness? Everybody's got emotions. Everybody's got things that go on in their day. Everybody has triggers. Yes, you're right. I said the word triggers that we mock on a regular basis. Everybody has those kinds of things. Why can't we have the conversation about them the same way that we had conversations about COVID for 2 years?
Talking with Jeff Ditzenberger, he's founder of TUGS, Talking, Understanding, Growing, and Supporting. So you mentioned the mental wellness. So let's talk about that for a minute with your presentation. Will the presentation and the discussion that you have give ideas to help with my mental wellness? I will tell you, Jeff, that, okay, running this radio station, running a business, there are days, it's 30 below out, or we're having a big giant ice/snowstorm, and this is happening, that's happening, and the other thing's happening, and you're getting pulled in 55,000 different directions, and there's all these other things going on. And what's this going to mean? I mean, just like a dairy farmer or a regular farmer, or really anybody. I mean, okay, so will the presentation talk about some of the things? Okay, if you're in this spot, maybe you should try this to keep your mental wellness.
So my intention, one of my things that I've told the powers that be that I want to have to come out of this is to not only tell skills that we can have to help ourselves, but also to give skills to people to better help that other person. If you have a person who helps you out and you say to them, hey, going forward, if I say to you, if you're talking to me and I say hippopotamus, that means I need a few minutes to just like digest everything, come back to me, and granted, there are times where you have to take care of things right now. I understand that. I'm not foolish enough to think that you can just like drop everything sometimes and take care of your mental wellness. But at the same time, you can still be like, okay, but if I say to you, hey, slow down, or if you say I'm being overwhelmed or whatever, that person can take a step back and be like, okay, here's the things we need to prioritize. We need to have these things done. Let me know when that's taken care of, and then we'll meet again and we'll try to get the rest of that done. I have become, believe it or not, a huge believer in walking away from your cell phone for a minimum of an hour a day. And I'm not talking when you're sleeping. I'm talking about it during the day. And it's really cool because the company that I work for, we have, I don't know if I can say the trade name because I don't know how that works, but anyways, there's a little program that you can actually book time that you focus on yourself, or you focus on, this is when I'm going to work on my reports and nobody else can disturb me during that time. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. We have made ourselves so freaking accessible to everybody 24/7. And we need to go back to the age-old adage when we used to not get our messages until 5 o'clock at night, or 5:30 or 6 or 8 o'clock when you got in from the barn, or whatever the case may be. But we have to, the only person we need to be accessible to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is ourselves. And I know there's going to be some bosses and some supervisors and stuff out there that are listening to this and saying you're crazy. I tell you what, you will get a lot more productivity out of someone who is taking care of their mental wellness, and they will appreciate you for letting them do that, than you will someone who is just bottling it all up until that point where they explode, or they go do something drastic, or they turn to a bottle, or they turn to a needle, or they do all this other stuff. There's so many other dynamics behind this that need to be looked at that we're not looking at. So yes, to answer your question, there is going to be some ideology, and it's not a one size fits all type of thing. But if hopefully everybody can take little snippets from everything that we talk about and say, oh my goodness, that'll work for me.
Talking with Jeff Ditzenberger, he's founder of TUGS, Talking, Understanding, Growing, and Supporting. We're doing a presentation on Friday with Corn-Soybean Expo at the Kalahari Center in Wisconsin Dells, Friday, February 3rd. Jeff, you mentioned walking away from the cell phone or being unavailable to get my FCC reports done, or on the farm, there's all kinds of different reports or things like that, things that have to get done. What about, I don't want to be disturbed because I just want to sit in my 12 by 12 padded room, a studio, or my bedroom, or sit outside and just stare off into space and not do anything. Isn't that something that everybody needs to do? And again, I bring this up because for farmers, it's, especially dairy farmers, it can be 24/7 because you have the dairy herd.
Yep.
But really for everybody, okay, even it doesn't matter if it's a farmer, a business owner, or someone even in town, it's like, okay, sweetheart, I know you want to, how did your day go? How did this, can you just give me a half hour of nothing?
Yeah,
I want,
and I guess
nothing.
I guess I should have made that clear. I was just saying, like you can book this time, but you can also book that time strictly for yourself. And it's kind of like when you're on an airplane. When you're on an airplane, and they go through the safety things, what do they tell you about the oxygen mask? Put your oxygen mask on first, and then help the people around you. You need to make you a priority. I tell people, one of the things when I do a lot of mental health, one of the things that I do when I do mental health coaching is, and not even that, even if somebody's having a rough time or whatever, I always ask them, if I asked you to list all the things that you love, where do you fall in that category? And I have yet to this day, since 2015, has anyone ever told me that they put themselves first? And that's part of the problem with our society, is that we tell everybody, well, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to do this. No, if you wake up on Friday morning and for whatever reason, the aliens came and took everybody but you because you were too good looking to go, who are you going to depend on? Who is going to take care of you? You. It's the same as putting on that oxygen mask. If you put on everybody else's oxygen mask first, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't have any air, and now I'm starting to pass out, you would hope that the people next to you are going to do that, but you don't know that for sure. Put your oxygen mask on first. Make yourself a priority. I had a mom talk to me one day, and I knew, or message with me, a good friend of mine, single mom, and I knew something wasn't right with the messages. I'm like, what's going on with you today? And she's like, how do you know? And I'm like, because your text messages are off. And she's like, I'm having a bad day, but I'm trying to keep it together for the kids. And I'm like, why? Well, they shouldn't have to go through what I'm going through. Why not have the conversation with them? Why not say, hey, mom's having a really rough day right now. I need 30 minutes to kind of get things together, and then let's come back to the table later and let's talk about it. And now you've done a couple of things. One, you've showed them how to set a boundary. You've told them that your health, your priority is you, and you can't help them unless you're in a good space. And then you create an area where you can talk amongst yourselves. And then when they start getting into relationships, they start doing the same thing. And now all of a sudden we've created this caveat of, hey, it's okay for me to take 10 minutes for myself or an hour for myself, or go get on the motorcycle and run up and down the road a couple of times, or go get on the Gator or the Ranger or whatever utility vehicle you have on the farm and go out to the woods and just sit there and soak it all in and get yourself better, and then come back a better person, ready to handle what's going on, ready to have the conversation with your spouse or your kids or your mom and dad or your partners or whatever you need to do, and do that in a space where nobody's going to get upset. Nobody's going to be like on edge where you say something and all of a sudden it turns into a full-blown argument or whatever. I don't know where the generation was that said that we needed to put everybody else in front of us, but I'm sorry, we need to stop doing that. I'm not saying we shouldn't help each other, but if we're not in a space to put our oxygen mask on first, we shouldn't be helping other people put on their oxygen mask.
And Jeff, it should also, for myself included, for everyone, if my spouse or partner or friend or coworkers, we shouldn't be offended by the spouse saying, you know what, I need an hour. I need an hour just to decompress and be by myself. We shouldn't take that personally. And I think sometimes that happens too much.
Well, and there's where the farming community is unique in itself. And you know this because you've been in this industry as long as you have. The whole thing with the agricultural and the farming community, and this is part of the reason why we do TUGS the way that we do, is that when the husband comes in from outside, or let's take it back to when I was still married to my wife, who was a dairy farmer. When she came in and we would talk, and I would say, I don't have any money to do this, blah, 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 blah. She's already like, I already know that because I'm the one who's balancing the checkbook. I'm the one who's milking the cows. I'm the one who's ordering the feed bill. All this, doing all this kind of stuff. That's one of the things that I like about TUGS is we try to get people together with people who understand that this dairy farmer is having an issue, but he doesn't have anybody to vent to, or this female farmer is having this issue, but can't talk to her spouse or her partner or whatever the case may be, because they're going through the same thing. So there's nothing to break that, nothing to break that part of it there. Your point is exactly spot on, though, to the point where you can say, hey, you know what? I've had a day. I need an hour. I'm not mad at you. I still love you. I just need to decompress and figure out what the hell is going on. And with a 2-income family on the farming side of it, and I saw this with my mom and dad, I saw it with myself because I was actually off-farm income coming in. I would have those times, like I would be away from the farm all day, or I would even have that time that I left the farm and got to work, and the time that I left work and got to the farm. I would have that time to kind of like decompress and get away from it, even though it only was 15, 20 minutes. For farmer, I mean, you get up in the morning, you think it's going to be a great day. You walk outside. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that the weather people were wrong again. It's 30 below zero. The milk house is froze up. One of the best heifers we have in the herd had a calf last night. That's awesome. Oh, it's a bull calf and she broke her leg on top of it, or she's got milk fever. All these snowball things that farmers have no control over whatsoever. If I'm not having a good day in my in-town job, a lot of times I can be like, well, this project sucks right now, so I'm going to go do this one, and then I come back to that. It's no big deal. They don't have that luxury. So at the end of the day, when they're talking amongst each other, you're exactly right. It's like blah, 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 blah. And they're like, no, I've had a rough day. I haven't even had any time to get away from anything. Give me my hour. Give me 15 minutes. Give me whatever. But you're exactly right. Don't take it personal. Actually, if we can open up that line of communication, that changes so many dynamics of what is going on, not only in the agricultural world and the farmers, but for everybody in our society to be able to have good conversations with level heads and be able to help each other. But at the biggest, most important thing that we're doing is we're helping ourselves right from the get-go.
And that is Jeff Ditzenberger. He's founder of TUGS. You can search for them on Facebook as well, but he's going to be doing a presentation during Corn-Soybean Expo on Friday, February 3rd at Corn-Soybean Expo. Of course, February 2nd and 3rd at the Kalahari, but definitely going to want to be a part of this presentation on February 3rd on that Friday from Corn-Soy Expo. This is the WRDN Morning Farm Report.